Today I'm going to share with you a budget planner. This is for your personal household and the importance of having one. So if we look at the top here, you'll find under the top is the income. So this is things like your take-home pay, so your wages, and that's after tax. That's your take-home pay, what goes into your bank account. And if we move further down, you'll see that we've got home and utilities. So all your expenses are broken down to different categories: insurance, groceries, personal and medical, entertainment and eating out, transport and auto, and children. Obviously, if you don't have children, then that's irrelevant. But you just alter to what suits your needs, or fill in what suits your needs. So let's start with the income. So in this case, I've got total income for take-home pay each week is $1,500, and then partner's income 1,000, and bonuses and overtime $100. So that gives a grand total of 135,200 per annum. So if you can change these depending on how you get paid. Now, if you got paid fortnightly or monthly, and that you put in there, so you might get 3,000 a fortnight. So you can go 3,000 a fortnight. And you'll see this amount over here, the annual income still remains the same. It's just split it off into fortnightly, the 3,000, so 1,500 a week. Same principle. So depending on how often you get paid, you alter the frequency in this column here. So if you want to change anything, say if you get over here, instead of Centrelink benefits, we might change that to online income. So you can tailor it to your needs. And so you just go through and you work out, okay, what is your take-home pay? So that's your bank account, what goes into your bank account, and your partner or any other income that comes in after tax. So this is what actually would receive in your bank account. Then you go through each of the expenses, which is from home and utilities downwards. So let's say you have a mortgage and or rent, then you'd put it into this column here, or into this here. Council rates, for example, if you've got a mortgage, then there'll be council rates. And then you move further down, there'll be things like insurances, whether it's car insurance and that. Groceries, you put on what you spend a fortnight. It might be a lot higher, it could be a lot lower than this, but that's generally where you would put the amount there. And personal and medical, once again, you can change any of these titles to that suits you. The key part to this is really being honest with yourself on what you really do spend. If you find that, say for example, you go to, let's go to entertainment. If in reality alcohol is not what you think you should have, it's actually what you have. So say if this was 200 in reality, so work out what you spend a week on alcohol. And this is not about judging you or anything, it's just more about having an accurate budget. So we'll take it back to 80. And so if we scroll down to the bottom here, you'll find that here it shows you are spending more than you earn. So what that means is effectively your income doesn't support your spending. You'll see there $830 deficit for 12 months. Monthly it's $69, and weekly it's $16 a week. So effectively you're either spending $16 too much a week, or you're not earning enough. So you might, if you earn another $16, then this figure here would zero out. So if we go back up to the top, and I'll show you what I mean. So if we changed that to 3,032 a fortnight. Let's see how that impacts that. See, there it goes, that brings it down to weekly. So effectively what you earn and what you spend are the same. So that's how you alter that. So if you get a pay rise, you'd put it in here. But remembering this part here, things like fuel and that's quite a variable, even electricity and gas. Those are the sort of things that can go up amongst other things, groceries and that. So based on everything goes up, and if you looked at the CPI, it can be anything from 3 to 5% each year. So everything you pay in the bottom part potentially would cost you 3% more every year. This way to fix this figure down here, if it's at a negative, so if you're spending more than you're earning, is really work on your income. You can go through and say some things here are fixed, like your mortgage might be a little bit variable, or your rent might be fixed for the whole 12 months. Council rates will be very similar in this example. Electricity, sure, you might be able to save 200 off that if you're very conservative. Water, you could use less water, you might save a little bit in that. Internet will probably remain the same. Mobile phone probably the same. You might generally your insurance and your loans and that will remain the same for at least 12 months generally. Supermarket expenses, they would tend to go up, so you might all of a sudden be spending $420 a fortnight instead of $400, and that would increase the other ones as well. But like the things like entertainment is where you may be able to save. So cigarettes, if you gave up cigarettes, all of a sudden you'd be saving $5,200 a year based on that $100 spend. And so these are sort of things, your alcohol and that, if you're wanting to cut your spending, they're probably the easiest way to work on, as opposed to things that are essential, because a lot of these are essential, you have to eat. They can cut out some of the luxuries maybe within your eating, but generally things like mortgage and electricity and that would remain fairly the same. So in this case, cut out smoking, altered a few others, and we're now at 105 surplus. So that if you were in this situation and you had 105 surplus, that is good. Then you could put that to savings, and if you put that into another account and let the savings build up, if you had an unexpected bill, then you could potentially use that if you needed to. Say you had major car repairs. But when you're running, let's go back and put the smoking back in, the $100, or let's say in this case, let's make it 120. So that's a $15 deficit each week. And what can happen, you might be able to go week by week paying the bills, but some of these will be annually or monthly or quarterly. So if you're paying, like, say for example, annually, it might be having to buy new furniture, or even quarterly. Let's use the quarterly example. In this case, you may have that 3,000 building up if you're leaving it in the bank account each week, and it'll build up, and each quarter the 3,000 will come out. But what can happen then is, so you think you're going along well because you've got money in the bank, it's building up, but you actually, in this scenario, are in a deficit each week by $15. That means by the time the year's up, you will be negative $758, or a shortfall of $758 a year. That's why a lot of people get caught with their budgeting, because they don't allow for things that are coming out monthly, quarterly. So when, like, you get let's go back up to the top again. If you get the council rates and you've spent that money, all of a sudden you've got to come up with $3,000. Hence why, if you know exactly what your costs are, you stick within your budget. So as an example, you cannot go over $80 with your mobile. You know that if you buy another mobile and the plan costs you another $80, then you're going to be at a shortfall. So let's show that example here. So 160, we've got another mobile phone, and now we're at from $16 to $33 a week shortfall. So it's so easy to get yourself into trouble with your family budget, especially how things are tight. So I recommend with everyone to do a household budget. You can download this, and I'll leave the link to the spreadsheet, and you can just download it for free, put in your own amounts, and just remember the frequency, just getting the frequency right. So if you get paid weekly, click on the site and change that to weekly, and then put, for example, 1,500, whatever your take-home pay is a week. As we go down to the bottom now, and let's have a look at and see where we're at. And in this case, we're at a shortfall of $2,550 a year, or $49 a week. So let's round it up to $50 a week we're short. So this enables you to do something about it, whether you cut your costs like we talked about before, or look at ways you can get not only the $50 of income, so let's go back, what's that one there, $50, oh, I'll put it monthly. So $50, that should bring that back to zero, or $1, yes it does, so $1 surplus. And then let's go back up to the income, and we might have online income, have an online business that generates another $100 a week. Go down the bottom, and so now we're at a surplus of $51 a week. Oh, that must be fortnightly too, I think. Yeah, it was. Just be careful of that. So if we go back down the bottom, and that's the way you can check it. So that's $101 a week now surplus. So you might be $101 surplus as an example at the start of the year. But just remember, these costs may go up. Like all of a sudden groceries goes up by an extra $80 a fortnight. You might find that pet food's gone up by $30. And then you might have a hobby that costs you might take up, say for example, judo, and it might cost you $25 a week for that. And then in that, with those increases or extra hobbies and that you might be doing, that $100 odd a week is now 25 surplus. So you still got a surplus, even allowing for these increases of spending. And that's really what it's about, is trying to build this top part, because there's a point where you only can cut so much out of your spending, then you cannot cut any more. So to find ways to generate more income is the key to getting your budget right and being able to have a surplus, which enables you to have, one, flexibility if things do increase, and two, if you might want to save for something, and so you've got flexibility that way. So I hope that's a help to you, and in further videos I'll go through things like business budgets, like cash flows. It's a very similar principle with a business budget. And just remember, you can download this